Have you ever recognized familiar Hollywood faces but missed the truths lurking behind them? These aren't just ordinary changes in appearance. They're curated reinventions designed to keep the public distracted and impressed. Behind the spotlight sits the exhausting pressure to maintain a flawless image and conveniently buried pasts that almost nobody wants discussed. From Theo Germaine, Jen Richards to Gabby Tuft, each has their own supposedly unique journey of living authentically. And at the end, there's a special reveal that might completely rearrange how you see everything. Don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Who impressed you the most? Gabby Tuft is often held up as one of those inspirational transformation stories modern entertainment loves to package and sell, especially to audiences who enjoy a neatly wrapped narrative. Once known as Tyler Rex in WWE, she built a career on a hyper-masculine image. Muscles, aggression, and a persona so convincingly tough that few people stop to question what might be happening beneath the surface. To the public, it all looked perfectly aligned, which just proves how easily appearances can fool an audience eager to believe what it's shown. In 2021, Gabby came out as a transgender woman, revealing a long and deeply private internal conflict that had been unfolding far from the spotlight. The announcement generated predictable waves of attention, largely because of the dramatic contrast between her former wrestling identity and her current self. But beyond the headlines and social media reactions, there was a more uncomfortable reality. Years of suppression, fear of judgment, and the quiet cost of maintaining an identity that no longer fit but was professionally convenient. Rather than continuing the performance, Gabby chose to step into something more honest, even if it meant dismantling the very image that built her career. Since then, she has repositioned herself as a fitness coach and public figure, sharing her journey online with a level of openness that audiences claim to admire. Whether people see it as bravery or simply another reinvention, her story underscores a truth many prefer to ignore. Real strength has very little to do with the image being sold. Nikki de Jagger, Nikki Tutorials. Nikki de Jagger, better known as Nikki Tutorials, is frequently celebrated as one of the digital beauty world's biggest success stories. Though, like most things online, the reality is a bit more calculated than the glossy thumbnails suggest. Born in the Netherlands, she began posting makeup tutorials as a teenager, quickly standing out for her technical precision, dramatic transformations, and a level of on-camera confidence that felt almost engineered for virality. What started as a hobby soon turned into a global brand, complete with millions of subscribers and collaborations with celebrities and major cosmetic companies eager to cash in on her influence. In 2020, her carefully managed public image faced an unexpected disruption. After being blackmailed with the threat of having her private life exposed, Nikki decided to take control of the narrative herself. She released a video titled, "I'm Coming Out," revealing that she is a transgender woman who had transitioned at a young age. The video spread rapidly, drawing millions of views within hours and triggering the kind of global conversation the internet pretends to handle well. What stood out wasn't just the revelation, but her composed, direct delivery, something that contrasted sharply with the chaos surrounding it. Instead of damaging her career, the situation only amplified her visibility. Support poured in from fans, creators, and public figures who were quick to align themselves with the moment. Notably, her success didn't depend on this revelation. She had already established credibility long before it. If anything, the disclosure reinforced her brand. Today, she represents more than makeup artistry, serving as a polished example of how authenticity, when strategically revealed, can strengthen rather than weaken public image. Jaime Clayton. Jaime Clayton has been steadily positioned as one of Hollywood's more compelling transgender actresses in recent years, a label the industry seems to hand out whenever it senses both talent and a marketable narrative. Before appearing on screen, she worked as a makeup artist, quietly mastering the art of transformation, an irony that's almost too convenient, given how much the industry obsesses over appearance while pretending it's about substance. That background, however, did give her a sharper understanding of identity and presentation than most performers ever need to think about. Her real breakthrough came with Sense8, where she played Nomi Marks, a transgender hacker navigating relationships, identity, and a constant sense of threat. The role was widely praised, not just because it existed, but because it was portrayed by a transgender actress, rather than handed to someone else in the usual casting roulette. Clayton brought a level of emotional precision that made the character feel lived in rather than performative, which, for Hollywood, is still treated like a pleasant surprise. Her path forward was predictably uneven. Typecasting, limited opportunities, and the unspoken expectation that she represent an entire community followed closely behind her success. Instead of shrinking under that pressure, she leaned into it, becoming an advocate for broader and more thoughtful representation, something the industry claims to want, while rarely committing to it consistently. In 2022, she took on the role of Pinhead in the reimagined Hellraiser, triggering the usual cycle of fan outrage and premature judgment. Yet her performance managed to be both controlled and unsettling, offering a reinterpretation that respected the original while still shifting its tone. Clayton's career, for all the branding around it, reflects a quieter truth. Transformation in Hollywood is rarely just physical. It's strategic, persistent, and often forced to prove itself twice. Theo Germaine. Theo Germaine is often described as one of Hollywood's more intriguing emerging talents, which usually means the industry hasn't quite figured out how to package them yet. Identifying as non-binary, Theo represents a shift that Hollywood now cautiously embraces, right after decades of pretending anything outside traditional labels didn't exist. Their presence is less about spectacle and more about quietly challenging the system, which for an industry addicted to exaggeration is almost uncomfortable to watch. Their breakout role came in The Politician, where they played James Sullivan, a character defined not by theatrics but by intelligence, loyalty, and calculated restraint. Unlike many performances designed to demand attention, Theo's style leans toward subtlety, measured, deliberate, and emotionally precise. It's the kind of acting that doesn't beg for applause but earns it anyway, which might explain why it stands out in a landscape full of louder, less thoughtful portrayals. The road to recognition was, unsurprisingly, slow. Smaller roles, independent projects, and the usual struggle for visibility shaped their early career. Nothing about it was overnight, despite how neatly the industry likes to rewrite these timelines later. As audiences, particularly in the United States, gradually warm to more diverse identities, Theo's growing visibility feels less like a trend and more like an overdue correction. Off-screen, Theo is known for speaking with a level of clarity about identity and self-expression that doesn't rely on buzzwords or performance. They emphasize the importance of space for those outside traditional norms, a concept that still seems to confuse parts of Hollywood. Their appeal, especially among older audiences, comes from that rare combination of sincerity and restraint. In a business built on illusion, Theo Germaine's impact is subtle, but difficult to ignore. Hailey Sahar. Hailey Sahar is often presented as a symbol of resilience in Hollywood, a narrative the industry leans on whenever it wants to appear both progressive and emotionally aware. Best known for her role as Lulu Ferocity in Pose, she became part of a series that conveniently turned a once-overlooked subculture into something mainstream audiences could safely consume from their living rooms. The show spotlighted the ballroom scene of the 1980s. And while it was praised for its authenticity, it also revealed how long Hollywood had ignored these stories until they became marketable. Before recognition arrived, Sahar's reality was far less polished. Like many transgender individuals, she dealt with rejection, instability, and the exhausting process of carving out a place in a society that prefers simple categories. None of that fits neatly into a promotional interview, but it forms the backbone of the story now being celebrated. Instead of stepping away, she pushed forward, using performance not just as a career move, but as a way to assert control over her own narrative. What separates Sahar from others isn't just ability, but presence. She carries a mix of elegance and vulnerability that feels deliberate rather than manufactured, drawing viewers in without needing to overstate it. Her performances balance strength and fragility in a way that Hollywood often tries and fails to replicate. Outside of acting, she has taken on the expected role of advocate, promoting self-acceptance and personal empowerment. Cynics might call it branding, but the message resonates because it's rooted in lived experience. In an industry constantly rewriting itself, Sahar's journey reflects both genuine progress and the uncomfortable truth that recognition often arrives long after it should. Scott Turner Scoffield. Scott Turner Scoffield is often described as a quiet pioneer of transgender representation in Hollywood, which is a polite way of saying he's done significant work without the industry turning it into a spectacle. Unlike the more marketable narratives built around sudden fame, Schofield's career has unfolded gradually, shaped by persistence rather than viral moments. He has worked both in front of and behind the camera, contributing to an industry that tends to celebrate change long after it has resisted it. As an actor, writer, and producer, he is focused on pushing for more accurate and grounded portrayals of transgender characters, something Hollywood frequently claims to value while struggling to execute. One of his more notable milestones came when he became the first openly transgender man to hold a recurring role on daytime television, appearing in The Bold and the Beautiful. It wasn't the kind of achievement that generated massive headlines, which says more about the industry's priorities than the significance of the moment itself. Still, it marked a step toward normalizing transgender visibility on mainstream American television, whether widely acknowledged or not. His influence extends beyond acting. Scoffield has worked as a consultant and producer, helping shape projects toward more responsible storytelling. While others chase visibility, his focus has remained on long-term impact, guiding how narratives are built rather than simply appearing in them. It's a slower, less glamorous approach, but arguably more effective. Despite ongoing challenges tied to underrepresentation, he has maintained a consistent, strategic presence. His career serves as a reminder that real progress in Hollywood rarely arrives with applause. It's usually the result of sustained effort happening just outside the spotlight. Jen Richards. Jen Richards is frequently labeled as one of the more influential figures shaping transgender representation in Hollywood, though not in the loud, attention-grabbing way the industry usually prefers. Instead, her impact tends to happen behind the scenes, where the real decisions are made and where credit is often selectively distributed. As both an actress and writer, she has taken on the less glamorous task of correcting how transgender stories are told, pushing for narratives that carry some degree of realism rather than recycled assumptions. On screen, she has appeared in series like Transparent and Mrs. Fletcher, delivering performances that lean more on restraint and emotional accuracy than spectacle. It's the kind of acting that doesn't beg for applause but quietly exposes how shallow many portrayals have been by comparison. Still, focusing only on her acting would miss the larger point. Richards has also worked as a writer, producer, and consultant, helping steer projects away from outdated stereotypes and towards something that resembles actual human experience. What distinguishes her approach is a persistent insistence that representation is not just about being seen, but about being portrayed correctly, a concept that continues to challenge an industry built on shortcuts. Like many transgender artists, she encountered early barriers, including limited roles and predictable typecasting. Rather than waiting for Hollywood to catch up, she inserted herself into the process, becoming part of the mechanism that drives change. Her career may not always dominate headlines, but that seems almost beside the point. In a business that thrives on visibility, Jen Richards represents the less visible work that actually reshapes it. Looking at the journeys of Gabby Tuft, Nikki de Jagger, Jaime Clayton, Theo Germaine, Hailey Sahar, Scott Turner Scoffield, and Jen Richards, what emerges isn't just progress, but a carefully managed shift the entertainment industry can no longer ignore. Each of them, whether visibly on screen or quietly behind it, has played a role in stretching the limits of identity and representation beyond what Hollywood once found comfortable. What ties these stories together is not just courage, but persistence, and a refusal to keep performing versions of themselves that fit outdated expectations. In doing so, they are forcing Hollywood to adjust, slowly reshaping it into a space where authenticity is no longer optional, but increasingly unavoidable. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next one.